Hi and welcome to another Consonant analysis. This analysis is about Ted Bundy. He's been in the movies recently. I don't really know a lot about his case, although I've learned a lot more about his case from actually doing this analysis report. Yeah, I mean, first of all, what I would say about him is he seems to be a bit of a mixed bag, really. Somebody who's opposites. Because when I've done the analysis, it comes out with themes of death and destruction, but at the same time of growth and development. So very, very strange. In the analysis report, you'll find there's sort of like three sections. One section is interpretation and comments, where I sort of like give an overview of what the report is about and what I think is going on. And then you've got the exact markers. And the exact markers are those which appear as they are in my source reference, whereas the inexact markers are the ones which the markers in Ted Bundy's speech, which actually occur between two markers in the source reference. And usually what I tend to find is that with the exact markers, they provide just a general overview of the rest of the markers. And there's usually a few of those, so it's easier to get a sense of what the report is about by looking at them. So I'll just go over my analysis. I put interpretation. The subject details a specific MO, a way of doing things or a way of life that involves courting, followed by attack, death and negativity, atonement and relief, through to growth and finally well-being. It's a cyclical mode of behaviour, perhaps indicative of his own experiences in earlier life. In other words, he's recreating what he knows. And for comments, I've put... this man was a bag of opposites. His manner of speech. This particular extract that I've taken is apparently a direct quote from him, and it's absolutely awful. When I'm doing consonant analysis, I'm always looking for what I call unidiomatic speech. It's speech which is not typical, that people don't generally use, turns of phrase that people don't generally use. And this is replete. It's completely non-idiomatic. It's absolutely awful. And it's painful to read. And it was even more painful to actually analyse, because there's about 150 odd markers. I can't exactly remember how many. And I've put, it sounds awful. I would liken it to a decaying trout being sloshed around in an open woman's handbag. Absolutely vile. And that's just on the surface. That's just what he actually said. When you actually analyse it and reverse engineer it, then you realise what vile things are actually underneath the surface. Next point I put is dichotomy of themes. So the themes seem to be at odds with each other, forming a continuum, suggesting that the subject was at odds with himself, constantly in a state of flux, never being this or that. And you get that from some of the markers. He had this nonchalance about him. He seemed to have this nonchalance, but it was like false. It's false nonchalance, false assurity. And with regards to the continuity of the continuum of themes, you'll notice in the themes that I've detailed below. I won't mention them and let you read them in the report, because there's quite a lot. The themes are they seem to form a continuum through development to eventual expression. So in other words, he's grown and developed, and then he's expressed himself, which is that's the path that we all take in life. Very surprising, there was actually some references to hair. So I've put here 2 references to long, luxuriant hair and one to tearing hair out. Although I didn't know the details of the Bundy murders on investigating, I was surprised to find that all but one of his victims' hair was long. and that the subject used to chop off his victims' heads and then proceed to fix their hair and put makeup on them. So I didn't actually know that. I've had similar things before in the past. Like if you look on my playlist for public office, you'll find there's a video about a policeman at Buckingham Palace, and in the markers for his speech, they came out one for freckles. And then when I actually looked into the matter, the person that was addressing actually did have freckles, although they weren't visible really on the video. And we've got a similar thing here. When I saw hair, because that's literally all the marker is, it's to have luxuriant hair. And it was a case of, no, there's something odd about this. So I thought, okay, let's look at it. And when I actually pulled up pictures of his victims, they all had long hair. And later on, obviously, when I read further, he actually liked to do their hair. Strange. And there's also one that's a definite mark, and then that occurs twice. And then in the inexact markers, you've got one with regards to pulling out hair. Pampering. This is interesting. There's actually a specific reference for pampering a child, a specific marker. And this occurs in his case, and it also occurs in the cases of O.J. Simpson and R. Kelly, which is very interesting. Because they were both indicted for violent crimes. With regards to abuse, I've put that his grandfather was alleged to have been abusive, although it was never substantiated. But you could say perhaps it is here. There are copious references to sexual, physical, and mental abuse in the markers. Apparently, approximately 50%, 45 to 50% of serial killers have prior experience of sexual abuse. That's something I read on the internet. God, this is something. It's surprising in this particular case. I do not usually get references to God or markers which have got special relevance or significance to God. But in this particular person's case, I do, and I actually found out that his parents were regular, and active churchgoers. So I've put here, God, the subject's parents were active churchgoers, and the themes of God and religion feature prominently in the markers, which they do. Here in this analysis, the themes of sexual abuse and the church come together, which is significant given that the subject highlighted several factors as being the cause of his criminal behaviour, yet never highlighted being sexually abused in a church as a cause. Apparently he gave many different reasons or rationales for reasons why he actually did what he did. But he'd never mentioned being sexually abused in the church, which is interesting because those two themes actually do play prominently in the markers. I mean, there may be something or nothing. There's no reason to believe that he did actually get abused in the church. But it's just curious. That's all, that they exist together. Perhaps I'm just drawing inferences. Water. There are several references to water, pouring, urination, etc. And I've just put, for further information on Ted Bundy, I suggest that to get a better feel for the case, like I did, you Google Ted Bundy sexual abuse, which is what I did. Or Ted Bundy hair, or you pull up, pictures of his victims, to notice what type of hair that they have. Like I said, with general themes, what I've done is I've taken all of the keywords out of the markers, and I've tried to group them thematically into some sort of like order, which was easy for the most part, but in some cases it was difficult because the source reference, you'll tend to find that sometimes you get what appear to be unrelated keywords put together, and it's only when you contextualize them into the life of a person that they actually make sense. It makes sense why they like that, and then additionally, because on top of that, Bundy seemed to be such like an opposite type of person. He was like opposites. But anyway, the headings that I've themed them under or grouped them under are Development 1, Growth; Development 2, Decay; Interaction 1, Interaction 2; expression 1 and expression 2. So that's all I have for you for Ted Bundy from this long quotation that I've taken. It took me quite a long time to do it, over a week, in and amongst other things. But I'm pleased I actually managed to get that done, because he's in the spotlight at the moment with Ted Bundy the movie, and also it was a very notarized case. So, and it was very, very strange. So if we could actually get to the bottom of why he actually did what he did, that would be very useful, to actually get to the bottom of things. So that's like I said, that's all I have for you today. If you liked the analysis, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and pass on to everybody else. And thank you for watching. And as usual, have a really nice day, and see you in the next analysis.